What does your job ask you to hide from the customers? Also, at the hotel I worked at, if a guest found a stray bed bug, all staff were instructed to neither confirm nor deny that it was an actual bed bug. Word games were not fun. My last job was a white labeled help desk. You had to hide the fact that your company existed at all from the customer. You had to pretend you were from whatever company the customer was using for their it. As a tattoo artist, oftentimes apprentices at the end of their apprenticeship will start to tattoo paying customers walk-ins, and for a few tattoo shops, the apprenticeships are much shorter than they need to be. So if you're getting tattooed but someone who seems to be young, or they seem inexperienced, they probably are, and they're probably still in their apprenticeship, but the shop will tell you they're actual artists. Do your research when thinking about getting a tattoo. And don't be afraid to wait months or even years for the right artist for you. It'll save you from really shitty tattoo. MD in pathology. We are the ones who give the bottom line diagnosis and staging for most cancers and many other diseases. In a weird way, the patient isn't our customer, their doctor is. We are telling them what the diagnosis is and what evidence we have to support it. Anything we say can trigger them to do a whole new treatment plan or a bunch more tests. So we have to be careful not to mention random things that we see, unless we want them acting in it. For example, we might think these megakaryocytes are a little small, and I see a few of them bunched together here. But it's only in a couple spots. If we bring it up, it might seem more significant than that, and trigger a distracting question about one disease process, when we know that's not the actual problem. A big part of the training is learning how to communicate the truth without clouding it with the truth. Unfortunately, this often means that the reports are almost unintelligible to the patients, because they are not the intended audience of the report really. The restroom. I work at a small privately owned pet store. It's the most trashy store ever, and the bathroom is a room with a toilet, water heater and buckets. To use it, you have to through the back room, which is where we keep the rats and stuff. Basically it's employees only. Well, one lady asked to use the restroom. We let her, and she stole a turtle that was being soaked in the sink on her way out. We caught her stuffing it in her bra, but she got away. Now if a customer asks if we have a bathroom, I have to say no. You'd be amazed at how good construction workers become at hiding flaws. It's quite nearly a part of the job description and a large reason why so much of construction effort is put towards cosmetics, beyond the fact that most people just don't want to be looking at a bunch of rough-in work that's functionally the same but aesthetically atrocious. I've worked at 2 fast food restaurants in my life. At each one, the only time that food safety protocol was followed or enforced was the day that the health inspector was coming to grade us. Edit: I should also note that both stores received 100% every time the health inspector came. Edit 2: obviously every restaurant is different. It all comes down to management. The stores I worked at were all about getting food out the door as fast as possible, with the smallest number of people working as possible. That leads to cutting corners. Not all restaurants, even fast food, are like that though. My point in posting was that even though they appear clean, or have a high score posted for their health inspection, that doesn't mean they're following all of the guidelines set in place for them. How many people are actually working on this really important project? Spoilers, it's just me. Client: can we add X? Me: no. Client: can we have a discussion on this with the whole team? Me: you just did. We sell software and we have a page that has instructions for setting it up Linux servers. But that's basically all we know about the OS, and as much as any of us actually care to learn it, if asked. The going policy is that our Linux specialist is out this week, but we'll totally refresh what we know by going over the page with you. I work in a deli bakery currently. All of our food is from frozen. They want me to call in fresh baked in store every day. Dude, it was frozen for 3 months, thawed for an hour, then cooked. It's no better than anything else you get from the freezer section. In many cases the freezer section is higher quality stuff. I recently started working at a fairly fancy resort and we just finished renovating a floor of the hotel and a lot of the new furniture had Argentine cowhide as the leather for it. We were instructed to tell guests that it was a fake synthetic material just in case. At back the food is frozen and gets warmed up in an automatic grill and we are told to tell the customer that the meat is always fresh and rare. Not now, but back when I worked as an aide at a nursing home, we were forbidden from telling patients we were short-staffed. We were, and it was the fault of administration because they were trying to save money. But literally the residents would be yelling at us because their shower was late or whatever and we were supposed to just act like it was because we were lazy. Weren't allowed to tell them it was because I had the entire wing by myself. The administrator was sick of having angry family members calling to complain and decided we should take the brunt of it instead. Cell phone store. Customers returned perfectly good phones all the time. We were told to sell the boxes as brand new. First time activations and purposefully leave out the fact that they had, in fact, already been activated and taken home within 48 hours. I'd be pissed if I bought a phone full price and it was even slightly used. I'll let those phones get dusty, would never sell them, just to spite that shitty ass policy. Our sales prices are just normal prices. Had to stock some pressure washers a few months back. They're $199 each when scanned. The next day I have to put up more. Scan them and they show up as $279 each. Couple weeks later they're on sale for $199 each. They raise the price for a couple weeks before putting them on sale. They don't just add a sale sticker to it. This isn't with everything that's on sale. Some things are on sale because it's literally just oh shit, we have way too many of these and nowhere to put them. Or we have a ton of product related to the spring season and now spring is over. Those are actually at a discounted price. It's not Kohl's or Walmart. We have to hide when we get some water. Can't have the costumers knowing we too need water. I used to work at a store and the manager actually told us that having a water bottle on the sales floor was a distraction. In retaliation, a majority of coworkers got doctor's notes stating that they, in fact, need water. The manager legally had to allow them to have water. Not in my current job, but when I worked in retail, we had to process waste food off the floor, waste food being fresh items that had been reduced on their use by date and then wasted or removed from our stock level because the company didn't want customers to see how much food was wasted. It was a lot. We could process damaged items on floor or items that had been taken out of the fridges and dumped elsewhere by customers, but not out of date or end of life products. We did trial giving our waste food to a local homeless shelter, but head office stopped it because it wasn't viable, which I took to mean there wasn't any money in it for head office. So I pushed them, and they then said they were worried there might be lawsuits against the company for giving out of date food to people. We could accidentally poison somebody, etc. I'm talking trolleys of food. Liquids were poured away and written off. Food was placed in bean bags and thrown in huge bins around the back of the store that were locked to stop people digging through it. Some of my colleagues would pour bleach or industrial strength floor cleaner over it too. I had a problem with wasting so much food and thought the excuses head office gave for not allowing us to donate was rubbish. It was all about the bottom line for them. The company itself makes a lot of noise about how environmentally friendly and green they are, and how much work they do for charity, when behind the scenes it wasn't like that at all. They had a really shitty attitude towards their staff in general too. I was glad to get out of there. Food retail is the worst retail sector to work in. I'm a cashier and everyone needs to keep the override card over a mysterious button that is next to it at customer service. It's attached to a big red light and has a wire connecting it to the phone. Nobody knows what it does, and we don't want to find out. Restaurant employee here. Staff is almost always sick because we get in huge trouble if we take a sick day. Not uncommon to have servers or food expediters throwing up while at work. Strep throat, colds, other contagious illnesses are always going around the workplace. Mice. We have mice. All my past food service jobs have had mice. Assume any restaurant you eat at has a mouse problem. If there's an issue with medication, too many pills, not enough, wrong, we are not allowed to tell them. We just have to leave the room with the meds and call our boss to fix it. It's pretty easy for them to figure out what's going on as it's kind of obvious, but we are not actually allowed to say that an error has been made. Any and every unique location to commit a crime, you will get away with that first time. We don't get the funds to have real cameras over the entire mall, so we move them to blind spots where we suspect, based on following other footage, the crime was committed. Then we wait for your stupid ass to go, wow, that was easy and nothing happened, and go for round 2. I've talked with peers in Target, Walmart, all over the place, and this is a constant. While there are certain high-risk zones that always have functional cameras aimed at them, if you wander off to an odd corner, odds that you'll get away with it time 1 are really good, provided you dodge the employees at the time too. Oh, and along the same vein, park your stupid ducking car at a different parking lot than you're robbing. This is how we get you. Your license plate. You don't even need a mask or a hoodie. Odds are we will never figure out who you are if you just straight up walk out with shit and off the property. I had a job which claimed all of their dressings were homemade, so we had to go to the back to fill the couple that were not. Also, they would say that none of the desserts were frozen by keeping the freezer for the desserts and everything else above the standard temp for a commercial freezer. So years ago I was involved in developing and deploying a system for a chain of jewelry stores. They offer a guarantee that they will buy back your piece for whatever you paid for it. This makes sense because jewelry doesn't really lose value and you're not taking inflation into account. Also, most people don't return their jewelry. Long story short, they go live, and the very first day we get a ticket because the customer bought a ring for $5,000, but the certificate of value printed out that it was worth only $4,000. We dig into the database and the code, and sure enough, the database says 4,000. The cert is correct. The problem was with the salesperson. He should have overridden the value with the actual sales value. Anyway, the lesson learned is that even if you get a 25% discount on jewelry, you're not even starting to cut into their profits. Everything. Where do I even start? Really? The only thing I'm allowed to tell the customers is this spiel about the place and where the restroom is. I really wish I could help people more than I can, but management actually trained me to actively hide things from people. Literally, I'm supposed to make the customers' lives harder. If I don't do it to management's approval, they go and hide even more things. Then again, I work in an escape room. Current job, I'm told to lie about the failed maintenance and budget cuts in my job. At my old job at Walmart, they told me to lie about the malfunctioning fridges and cooled produce that would sit out for 8+ hours before being put into the coolers. When I worked at McDonald's back when I was in high school, there was a time I accidentally filled up a medium soda cup instead of a small for a drive-thru order. I was about to dump it when my manager takes the medium cup from my hand and poured it into a small cup, and it fit perfectly. The small and medium cups are the same volume, just different shapes. At my job, we handle disability claims. Sometimes we get calls from veterans asking about the status of their claim, but we cannot tell them. They are redirected to their regional VA office manager for that. We also cannot contact the veterans when there's a problem with their claim, or if their medical provider is unwilling to comply in sending us medical records to support the claim. Well, this is kind of weird. So, my family owned a small bodega, and across from us was another bodega. We had this ripped up blue chair where the counter was. So my grandmom and my bro could sit in between bagging stuff. Every time this old man, middle-aged man, or his wife came in, is realized my mom would slowly lower the chair to the ground so they couldn't see. I was a kid and thought it was a game, so I would help. Didn't realize it was weird until I became a teenager. I asked my mom, who was reluctant to tell me that they stole the chair from that old man's bodega when they fired her before I was born. I find it hilarious. In case you're wondering, the old man Middle-aged man and his wife, the old man's son and daughter-in-law, weren't that petty and came in to buy stuff they didn't have at their store. They were also friends with my grandpa. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.